Welcome back. All right, so 9 games, 9 tonight, and 6 of them started at the same time. So yeah, kind of a crazy night. So yeah, and then 3 games that started later than that. I was able to give all of my attention to the last game of the night, which was Minnesota and Anaheim. We'll get to that one. All right, let's go ahead and start things off with New Jersey. So the Devils come out of this pause, and other teams have come out of this pause with players missing. We'll discuss one that's got a lot of guys missing even going into Sunday. And New Jersey's not making excuses, and they're not looking rusty, and hey, they're in this. So they have 47 games in the next 83 days. It's going to be a rough few months for New Jersey. They're going to be very, very busy. The Bruins wearing their thirds tonight, and they let in shots 4-0, 5.5 minutes into this. So the Bruins started out fast. Bruins pressed at 8 minutes. The Devils get a power play. Solid, aggressive penalty kill by the Bruins. Sleepy first, which I thought might favor the Devils. Though I kept thinking, this sleepy first period, it's not that unusual for Boston this year. They've been slow starters, and then they usually turn it on later in the game, right? In the last minute, there were some good saves by Mackenzie Blackwood, who, again, Blackwood's sort of fantastic. So other fan bases find this out every time New Jersey plays. So we go to the second period, and it's early. Palmieri scores his first of the year from Jack Hughes at 1:34. Things get scrappy at 2 minutes, 14 seconds. We end up with 4-on-4 play coming out of that. Zacha had a chance that went wide. The Devils get a power play. A minute and a half later, it goes 4-on-4 on a 4-minute high stick to, I believe it was PK Subban that got that. And then during that long power play, well, you got to watch who you cough that puck up to, and Palmieri gets a shorthanded marker from Bratt and Severson at 10:39, so it's 2-0 New Jersey. And it's another great game for Blackwood, really seriously. The only thing that beat him in that second period was a great shot by DeBrusk on a turnover that, Blackwood had no chance on that. 12:36, so great shot, and that's a power play marker, technically, for Boston. And, then there's a 2-on-1 for the Bruins. Severson defends that. Coyle and Bastian then had offsetting penalties to send it back to 4-on-4 play. And then, I believe, a 4-on-4 goal is scored. It's Zacha from Janssen and Butcher at 15:37. So again, Will Butcher getting in the lineup, and he gets on the scoreboard. So it's 3-1 New Jersey after one. And again, they get the shorthanded goal during the 4-minute power play that Boston would score on, but you've just offset that, right? So third period, and the Devils have struggled in third periods this year. Boston has excelled in third periods for the most part. Janssen with a breakaway goes wide. Blackwood stopped a good chance from Pastrnak. There's a power play for the Devils, and it becomes a 5-on-3 for 1 minute and 10 seconds. So you expect, all right, so this is where New Jersey's going to end it. They don't. Boston fights it off. Then with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left, there's a delay of game call against the Devils. They pull the goalie, and 6-on-4, they score. Pastrnak scores from McAvoy and Ritchie at 18:54. A goal that was originally credited to McAvoy. They have officially changed the scoring to Pastrnak. It's one of the few times that I've updated the board with a goal that was changed after the fact. Normally, it's not really a big deal. But anyways, it doesn't affect the outcome. New Jersey holds on and wins this. They go to 6-3-2, and for Boston, they drop to 10-3-2. These guys officially have problems with New Jersey. They do not play particularly well against New Jersey. And, that's going to be fascinating to watch how this happens in the other 5 matchups these teams are going to have this year. Shots were 7 each in the first period, 11-8 New Jersey in the second, 12-8 Boston in the third. Final shots 27-26 for Boston. Power plays, New Jersey 0-4, Boston 2-3. Blackwood 25 saves on 27 shots. Halak saves 23 out of 26. Your 3 stars in this game, Palmieri, Blackwood, and Zacha. Remember, when it's a really busy night and there may not be a lot of notes on the board, I'll do the 3 stars in there. Generate some conversation about who should or shouldn't have been in the 3 stars. There's a game coming up where, I have an issue with the 3 stars. All right. Not this one, though. New York Rangers in against the Philadelphia Flyers, who have 6 guys that won't be making it because of COVID protocols, won't be making the trip for the game against Boston on the weekend in Lake Tahoe. That's got to be rough. We're going to Lake Tahoe. I want to go to Tahoe. Yeah, you're in protocol. Sorry, buddy. I want to trade. That's not going to help. So Panarin returned in this one. He was prominent, looked pretty good. Aube-Kubel, though, would score from Raffl and Hayes at 59 seconds. So right out of the gate, Philadelphia is up in this one. Flyers then get a power play. It did not score. There was then a 2-on-1 for the Flyers, and JVR had a near miss on that. The Rangers press at the halfway mark. The Flyers get another power play. There's a lot of power plays in this. No, Hebert was not the referee. So, yeah, Flyers with a power play, and then there's a 2-minute 5-on-3 for the Rangers. 2 penalties on the same play, and they even pointed out they could have called 3 different Flyers for penalties on that play. And then 35 seconds later, it becomes a 4-on-3. So all of this ends up shaking out that nobody scores on the power play. Huge save by Hart, and then Panarin hits a crossbar as well. So we go to the second period with the Flyers ahead. Early on, there's a Rangers power play, and they score on it. It's Blackwell, continuing what's been a pretty solid start for him, from Buchnevich at 3:24. There's then a power play for the Flyers, and the parade continues. The Rangers already up to their 4th power play in that second period. Zibanejad, notably on that power play on the second unit, and it just feels like, I don't know what's going to happen with Mika Zibanejad. I really don't. I don't know if he's going to be a Ranger long-term or not, because he's still stuck on 1 goal. And yeah, it's weird, because last year he was fantastic, and this year he just can't get goals. They're not happening. The Flyers were not getting enough shots at that point of the game either. Not directing nearly enough on Georgiev. Buchnevich gets a penalty shot. Rangers fans not happy about the penalty shot in terms of Buchnevich's. He didn't score on it. We'll just leave it at that. We'll move along. The Flyers then get their 5th power play before we go to the third period. And in the third period, first thing I noticed, Zibanejad snake bit. When he gets the opportunities, he can't put them in. It's just not happening. The shots were 2 apiece at 4.5 minutes. Panarin had a chance that gets denied, but then it's Smith scoring his first from Panarin and Strome at 8:21. So it stays 2-1 until the Flyers pull the goalie with 2 minutes left, and they score on it. Farabee scores 6-on-5 from Hayes and Provorov at 18:46. So Hayes with a couple of helpers tonight, and that ties the game up, forces overtime. In overtime, Couturier had a wraparound that was stopped. With 2:38 left, the Rangers, with their pressure, they draw themselves a power play. So, power play for the Rangers. Hart denied Panarin. The power play's killed off, which means that it's 4-on-4 until the whistle. Well, they played right up until the end of the overtime, so it was 4-on-4 until the end of the overtime. We go to the shootout. In the shootout, it's Artemi Panarin that gets the winner. The Rangers eke out a shootout victory over the Flyers, 3-2. They go to 5-7-3. Important 2 points for the Rangers. And for the Flyers, they dropped to 8-3-3. But again, they were without big names like Giroux and others. And so, pretty impressive that they were able to get a point out of this. They played relatively well. The shots were 11-6 Rangers in the first, 12-7 Rangers in the second. In the third, Philly actually outshoots them 7-6. And in overtime, the shots were 3-2 for the Rangers. Final shots 32-22 for the Rangers. Power plays, the Rangers 1-for-5. The Flyers 0-for-5. Georgiev, 20 saves on 22 shots. Hart saves 30 out of 32. 3 stars, Panarin, Farabee, and Aube-Kubel. Hi. Did you want something? Hi. What? Hello. Yes. Hi. All right. He just charged up behind me and it looked like he wanted something. So, just wanted to make sure. Okay, let's go ahead and move along to the next game on the board, which is the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And all of the good feelings about the Islanders, I don't know. The Pittsburgh Penguins kind of drowned those out today. I will say this for the Penguins. They don't lose a lot of games. They don't end up taking themselves out of the conversation for the playoffs. They always show you they can bounce back from some negative results, like their most recent against Washington. So early chance for the Islanders. Zizekas then had a fight with Tanev. That was kind of out of nowhere. And then Crosby scores from Kapanen at 4:15. That was a goal that was initially given to Kasperi Kapanen, but it was eventually changed to Crosby. Another good start for Jarry. Tristan Jarry has proven over the last, I'll say 4 or 5 starts, that he's very good goaltender. He had a slow start to the season. It's coming together. Late in the period with 21 seconds left, the Islanders get a power play, but we go to the second period with it 1-0 in favor of the Penguins. In the second period, the Islanders get another power play, but the penalty kill for the Penguins was doing pretty well to that stage. Penguins get their first power play, and then it turns into a 5-on-3. Varlamov, absolutely heroic during that 5-on-3. Multiple chances for Penguins to score. He was not allowing it. And the Islanders / Varley kill that off. But then it's Bluger scoring from Matheson at 18:01. And that kind of took the wind out of the sails of the Islanders right there. And, it was a really good period of hockey by the Penguins. And it is nice to see Teddy Bluger getting goals and points now. He's been a hard worker for the Penguins ever since he arrived. It's nice to see him getting the points to back it up. In the last minute, the Penguins get a power play, but we go to the third period with it 2-0. The Islanders, Clutterbuck, shorthanded, hits the crossbar. So that close to making it 2-1. Penalties killed off. Shots were 5-1 for the Penguins at 4 minutes. And then Zucker scores from Rustin Malkin at 9 minutes and 11 seconds. The Islanders would then get a power play. So, for hope's sake, Brock Nelson scores his 4th of the season from Bailey and Leddy at 15:39. So that made it 3-1, and you're thinking, well, Pittsburgh's defense sometimes has its issues, and the Islanders can sometimes get hot. However, with the goalie pulled, it's Rust from Zucker and Malkin at 16:54. The Penguins put all that talk to bed. They win this one 4-1. They go to 8-6-1 and drop the Islanders to 8-5-3. The shots in this one. Oh, and Martin was unhappy with Matheson in this. Martin ends up getting 12 penalty minutes on that play. Matheson over a hit on Barzal that they didn't like. So anyways, the shots were 14-11 Islanders in the first, 15-11 Pittsburgh in the second, 11-7 Pittsburgh in the third. Final shots 37-32 for the Penguins. Power plays. The Islanders 1 for 3 and Pittsburgh 0 for 4. Varlamov saves 33 out of 36. Jari saves 31 out of 32, and the 3 stars are Zucker, Jerry, and Matheson. Did I mention the 3 stars this one were Panarin, Farabee, and Aube-Kubel? If I didn't, I just did. Just covered. Yes, I did. All right. So, yeah, for the Penguins, big win for them. I believe these teams meet again on Saturday. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Normally, with the rematches, we're seeing them normally go about 50-50. But we'll see. All right, next up, Columbus and Nashville. So this is an interesting game in that there's not a lot of penalties. There's one power play in this game. This was, if you're a Nashville fan, you'd actually have to kind of be happy with how they played tonight. But the result isn't what you're looking for. So Nashville now is seriously in trouble. This is the same kind of trouble the Canucks found themselves in about a week ago. It's possible to dig your way out of this, but it's getting more and more difficult with each game. Reverse retro Predators, and I love this because the Predators are wearing their reverse retro. Columbus is at home, they're wearing their blue jerseys. Gold versus blue. I've always said the gold home jerseys don't have to be home jerseys. You can wear them on the road. Other teams wear dark colors. It's not hard to tell them apart, and that was fun. The shots were 2-0 Preds at 4 minutes. Elvis was off to a good start. Probably an understatement there. Elvis Merzlikins was channeling the Elvis of last year's regular season tonight. Predators get a power play, no shots. And then Atkinson with a fluke goal at 19 minutes and 43 seconds. And it's a 6-game goal streak for him, and it lobbed. I can't really describe it other than it kind of bounced up, and it was like it was curling, or it was like a frisbee, and it goes over the goalie, and it dips, and it goes into the net. No chance for Saros on that. That's not right. I mean, it's a goal we're going to see on highlight reels for years to come, but I don't know how Saros is supposed to stop that. So if you're a Preds fan, you're going, well, of course that would happen against us, because of course. Second period, early chance for the Predators. It then goes the other way, and more oddities happen. So Domi gets a goal. He gets it from Jones and Nash at 4:55. However, it was reviewed as to whether or not it hit the linesman's leg on the way through, because the linesman was performing a really nice screen in front of Saros. The funny thing is, the Columbus announcers kept saying, why don't they just ask the linesman whether or not it hit him? Why are they calling Toronto? Why are they doing all these reviews? Why can't they just ask the linesman, did it hit you? The weird part is, then they decided that it didn't. But what if it did? Like, it was so weird to me, because when they looked at the replay, they said you could kind of see by the linesman's reaction that it had probably gone in off of him. But I like, it's weird. It's like, so if a linesman goes to a referee and says, that deflected off of me, and they call Toronto and Toronto goes, no, it didn't, are we calling the linesman a liar? And do we trust him on an offside after he's been declared a liar on a goal? It's strange. And again, that's two strange plays that lead to goals in the Nashville net. And we're headed to the third period. I don't have a whole lot of notes here on this game because it was just weird stuff. Pretty much, not a lot of penalties. And everything was pretty even in terms of the play and the shots. Third period, early stop for Elvis Merzlikins as Nashville would put on the pressure. So they were out shooting them 5-0 at 4 minutes into this, just peppering the net. Good offense, or good defense, I should say, by Seth Jones tonight. Seth Jones had a very good game defensively. They were showing all the plays where he was all over the ice and playing the puck carrier well. Predators press. Elvis, though, just shutting them down. There really wasn't a whole lot of concern about Elvis in this one. Duchesne fired wide as the Preds had some control. In fact, with 4.5 minutes left, they were out shooting Columbus 11-1. So the goalie gets pulled with 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. Well, you know what that allows Columbus to do? Hit the empty net. And it's Robinson getting the goal from Grigorenko and Peak at 17:29. And the only question then was, so is Elvis going to get the shutout? Yes. Yes, he did. Shots in this one were 10-9 Nashville in the first, 9 shots each in the second, 13-4 in the third, final shots 32-22. Power plays, there was 1 in the entire game, and that was for Nashville. And that's it. Saros saves 19 out of 21. Merzlikins saves all 32 shots for his 6th career shutout. 3 stars, Merzlikins, Atkinson, and Domi. The easiest 3 stars you can pick. The goalie and 2 goal scorers. So there you go. Columbus with a pretty big win. They go to 8-6-4. And again, for Nashville, they're now 6-10. Their scoring woes really, really amplified in this game. They're going to need to turn this around on the weekend because, the math gets really, really dodgy at this point when you're 16 games into a 56-game season. They got 40 games left. It is a short season. So, all right. That being said, I need to change boards. We had one game in the North today. Can you find it? I'll bet you can. So you've got 2 normal scores, and then you've got the North. The North does it again. And, the interesting thing was it was Hutchinson versus Hogberg. It didn't last with Hogberg in that. Shabbat was out of this one, too, for the Senators. So a lot of lineup changes for both teams. But the end result tonight is Toronto is not messing around. For the Leafs, this was kind of a statement game. But interestingly enough, the shots are 3-1 for the Senators at 4 minutes. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, is this rivalry a lot closer than it looks on paper? So it looked like it might be another low score. That's right there on the board. Might be another low score. Clearly it wasn't. And the Leafs get a second power play after that first one they got right before I put might be another low score, and they score on that one. And it's Matthews from Riley and Thornton at 10:29. And with that goal, it was the 18th goal that Matthews has in 20 games in his career against Ottawa. He loves playing Ottawa. This is part of the reason why people talk about his goal scoring. And there does need to be a video on the goal scoring being done by Matthews right now. It doesn't hurt that the teams he's playing in Canada, he loves scoring goals against. The Leafs with the momentum after that goal, and they would score. Joe Thornton makes up for the game before where he had the 2 goals taken off the board. Not this one. Muzzin and Marner with the assists at 16:42. But it's Ottawa. So when Stützle scores a nice goal from Tierney at 17:51, and you see Hutchinson's a little off the post and maybe should have had that, had to make you feel just a little bit nervous as the Leafs hit, just a little. However, Matthews would score in the last minute from Marner and Thornton at 19:37. So Joe Thornton with a goal and an assist in the first period. Matthews with 2 goals. Marner with 2 assists. You know, or 1 goal, 2 assists, I should say, in the first period for Thornton. The whole idea that this is a one-line team, yeah, but what a one-line it is right now. So we go to the second period, and early in the second period, Mikheyev scores from Nylander at 1:39. So that makes it 4-1. And then Marner scores from Riley and Matthews at 3:45. It's 5-1. Did I stop turning back to this game? You bet I didn't. Nope. And then Connor Brown scores from Pekka and Riley at 7:39. That was after a power play had been killed off by the Leafs, however. So, you know, I'm thinking, all right, well, it's 5-2. And again, I should be thinking, well, this game's over. It's 5-2. No, the other night taught me maybe not. Power play then for the Leafs, and they score on it. So their power play was lethal tonight. It's Nylander on the power play from Spezza and Matthews at 11 minutes. And, yeah, that made it a 6-2 game, and that's where I went, all right, so they're going to win it. There was a power play late in that period for the Sens, but we go to the third period with a 6-2 lead. The shots were 3-0 for the Senators at 3.5 minutes, but you never really got the feeling that this was going to fall apart. Even though Batherson scores from Stepan and Stützle at 11:11, makes it 6-3. Still, you didn't get the feeling this was going to fall apart, and it didn't. Tavares scores then from Marner and Kerfoot at 16:53. That makes it 7-3. And for the Leafs, they go to 13-3-2. Ottawa drops to 4-14-1. So Ottawa played well. They outshot Toronto 12-10 in the first, got outshot 14-9 in the second, and outshot them 16-7 in the third. The shots were 37-31 in favor of Ottawa. The Sens 0-2 on the power play. Toronto 2-3. Huge part of the story in this game. Hogberg saved 4 out of 5 and was hurt at around the 12-minute mark. And then Murray went in and Murray saved 20 out of 26. So are we back to the same conversation then? Does this mean Gustafson's the backup? How hurt is Hogberg? Hutchinson quietly has a good game. 34 saves on 37 shots. There you go. Hutchinson goes in net. The world doesn't come to an end. The Leafs win the game. And it feels like by winning 2 out of 3 against Ottawa, there's kind of a monkey off the back with this, because now they're 3-2 against Ottawa on the year. We'll see. The 3 stars in this, Matthews, Marner, and Thornton, to the surprise of no one. Again, if it's a one-line team, it's a pretty good first line. That's a number 1 line that's excellent. When you've got a guy who's scoring about a goal a game, yeah, keep it going. It's what, a 15 game point streak for Matthews now? He loves playing against Canadian teams. Absolutely loves it. So, again, bring it on. I don't think Sheldon keeps sitting in the locker room right now and saying, well, we got 7 goals, but from who? Need more from the depth guys. Nah, I don't think so. If he's sitting in the locker room right now, though, go home. Game's over by hours, man. Go home. Seriously, you're not supposed to be there. There's regulations and stuff. All right, Buffalo. I'm sensing a pattern with the Sabres, and I feel bad for Sabres fans right now. This is the annual passage of how do you call it? Like suckitude? Like, what is it with Buffalo? Like, it's tough because they had this long break, but so did New Jersey, and New Jersey's come out of this break, and I know New Jersey was the one that caused Buffalo to have the break, and it's all this huge mess. So the Caps tonight, it was Ullmark versus Vanacek. It's funny because all I think with Vanacek now is how Pierre Maguire said, well, they can't rely on this guy, and since then, he's been unbeaten. Panik almost gets one. Ullmark was down on that play. It looked like Reinhardt had scored. The light actually came on. Rob Ray thought it was in. And I kept thinking, well, the horn's going to come on. It didn't. So when I didn't hear the horn, I thought, all right, so that's not in. And in fact, it hit the post and the crossbar, like right where the post and the crossbar meet. So yeah, play did continue. The shots on net were only 1-1 at the half. So Buffalo's shots are still low in this game, and now it's a trend. Ullmark with a huge save on Sherry. Power play them for the Caps, and they score on it. It's Backstrom from Oshie and Ovechkin at 17:23. Huge goal late in the period to give the Caps a 1-0 lead. And it just feels like that hurts the Sabres, and that their confidence takes a hit with that. So second period, the lack of shots were continuing early. Kuznetsov has a chance that goes wide. The Sabres get a power play. And while they're on the power play, it's a shorthanded marker. It's Tom Wilson at 6:38. So a power play goal and a shorthanded goal for the Capitals. 33 minutes into this game, the Sabres had a grand total of 9 shots. They would get some shots before the end of the period, however. But it didn't feel like there was steady pressure. Like, basically the way this worked tonight was Vanacek would either cover the puck or the Caps would clear a rebound. And there wasn't really a lot of second chances and opportunities for the Sabres. And this was just a game where they were kind of getting smothered. So we go to the third. The shots were only 1-0 for the Capitals at 4 minutes. So this was clearly a case of they have a 2-0 lead. They want to trap this game. This just keep Buffalo to the outside. Make sure nobody gets hurt kind of thing. It was that kind of a game where you just wanted to make sure that you get through it. You win the game. Don't get sloppy. Connor Sherry, though, scores from Eller and Schultz at 7:28. That makes it 3-0. The Sabres would get a power play, and they would score on it, so they break up the shutout. It's Olofsson from Eichel and Akpozo at 11:27. That's as close as you get. They pull the goalie with 2 minutes left in the game, but the Sabres, they dropped a 4-7-2. They've now scored, 2 goals in 3 games since the return. The Capitals, they're 8-4-3. They scored the 3 goals tonight. The shots were 6 each in the first period, 11 each in the second. 6-4 Buffalo in the third. They did outshoot Washington 23-21. No puck luck. And it felt like there just weren't any second chances at all for the Sabres through most of this game. Power plays, Buffalo goes 1 for 2. Washington scored on the only power play they had. Ullmark saves 18 out of 21. Vanacek saves 22 out of 23. Wilson, Backstrom, and Vanacek are your 3 stars. It's a clean sweep for the Capitals, who remain undefeated in regulation against Buffalo, and for the Sabres, this record against the Capitals is alarming. I don't know what you do if you're Buffalo right now. I'm curious to know if they're going to find their way out of this. We will see, but right now the math isn't looking great for them either. Next up, San Jose and St. Louis. This was a very entertaining game. This game had some really nice momentum swings, and if you watched this game, you saw a pretty good game. Early on, the Sharks get a power play. It ends up getting 1 shot. Burns takes a penalty. Wasn't happy with that to send the Blues to the power play. I'm just going to say straight out, Brent Burns didn't agree with the call, wasn't particularly pleased with the call, and we'll just leave it at that. And then he had to be even more upset when the Blues scored on the power play. It's Hoffman from Sundqvist and Perron at 6:12. That makes them 3 for 30 at home. They would end up 4 for 33 at home by the end of the night. Like, that's their combined record for the whole season. So it's getting there, I guess. And the impressive thing is that San Jose is a pretty good penalty killing team, at least when you look at last year's stats. And so at least they're starting to get those opportunities. I swear St. Louis will have a good power play before the season's out. Shots were 7-3 in favor of the Blues 8 minutes into this game. Strong first half for them. Binnington was sharp on a deflected shot. Burns had a chance that was denied. And then Jones had a nice stop on McEachern. The Blues would get a power play with 3.2 seconds left in the first period. So we go into the second. Couture briefly exits the game. He does come back. There was a wraparound chance for the Blues that was saved by Jones. Perron had a chance that went wide. Marleau had a one-timer that missed the net. That was close. And the Sharks press at 7 minutes. However, what ends up happening is, a minute and a half later, Gregor scores from Meloche and Gambrell at 8 minutes and 27 seconds. That ties it up. Then Jones denies Barbashev, and then later on in the period, it's Leonard getting his second goal from Donato and Marleau at 14:31. So Patrick Marleau on the board, and suddenly San Jose has a lead. And then the Sharks, before the period was out, tried to add another. So it was a very good second period for San Jose after what was a very strong period for St. Louis in the first. Momentum swings in this game were great. So we go to the third. The Sharks were 3-0 coming into tonight when they had a lead after 2 periods. The Blues were 0-5 when they were trailing entering the third period. So that's interesting because these things are subject to change. There was a big block by Kane early on a chance by Falk. I cannot tell you how well Justin Falk is playing. I think it's the best he's ever played, and I'm including his time in Carolina. I think right now Falk is... Can I say he's the best defenseman right now for the Blues? Because it feels like he kind of is. And it's been great to watch him come into his own this year. Absolutely fantastic. And makes Armstrong look like a genius for signing him to that contract all of a sudden. It's amazing how a guy having a good year will make a GM look a lot smarter, just like a guy having a poor season all of a sudden makes a GM look like he's not very smart. Then there's a post for Kyrou. Hurdle missed an open net. The Sharks were pressing at that stage. Barbashev would exit the game. He did not return. It looked like he took a shot off the foot or ankle. So it's going to be listed as a lower body injury. We'll see how long he's out. Falk was denied a goal Falk denied a goal for San Jose at 6.5 minutes. So it's one of those, the puck's bouncing up and it's going to cross the line and Falk gets it out of there. So Binnington owes him a beer. Socially distanced beer. Best game, I think, in 2021 for Martin Jones tonight. Absolutely great game for Martin Jones. Fantastic. The fact he's not in the 3 stars reminds me why I stopped doing the 3 stars thing in these games. So Meyer takes a penalty with 4:46 left. I didn't think it was a penalty. Not only that, but Panger didn't think it was a penalty either. On the replay, it was just one of those collisions. Bortuzzo, I think it was, that went into the boards. He was okay. And probably shouldn't have been a penalty. So strong Sharks penalty kill, 2 shots for the Blues. Then the Blues pull the goalie with 1 minute and 20 seconds left. And 6-on-5, it's Schenn scoring from Hoffman and Perron at 19:20. And Falk doesn't have his name on this one because he's the 4th guy that touched the puck. So he passed it to Perron, to Hoffman, to Schenn. Fantastic play by Falk to set that whole thing up. He doesn't get a point, but he should have. So we go to overtime. In the overtime, Jones denied Falk again, because that's what you do. And then with 1:39 left, the Blues get a power play. And those 4-on-3 power plays in overtime, they can be lethal. That's the case here. It's Perron from Krug and Binnington at 4 minutes. The Blues win this one in overtime 3-2. It was a great game. The shots were 12-10 St. Louis in the first, 12-8 San Jose in the second, 15-9 St. Louis in the third, 10-1 St. Louis in the 10 shots in 4 minutes for St. Louis in the overtime. That's 3-on-3 and then 4-on-3. 10 shots. Jones isn't in the 3 stars. How? Why? So the final shots are 45-32 for St. Louis. Power play, San Jose only had 1, didn't score on it. St. Louis ends up 2 for 4. So they have to feel pretty happy with their power play coming out of this game for a change. And Jones saves 42 out of 45. Binnington saves 30 out of 32. Your 3 stars are Perron, Hoffman, and Binnington. I would have given Jones probably Binnington's spot because Jones is the reason this one goes to overtime. Jones is the reason that they're ahead with 40 seconds left. But hey, it's just a 3 stars. Not necessarily a big deal and all of that. And now I need to change boards. LA and Arizona. And you can tell when we're in the West because scoring becomes, a lot more difficult to find. Like the San Jose-St. Louis game goes to overtime. This one's a shootout. This one, they're all kind of low scoring because we're in the West. So this one didn't start out looking like it was going to be low scoring between the Kings and Arizona. Brown scores from Kopitar and Anderson at 4:21. The Coyotes then get a power play, which was killed off by the Kings. There was a near goal on the Coyotes' blue line. It's one of those ones where it's amazing it doesn't go in, but it didn't. Kemper knew not to kick his leg back because that would have pushed the puck in. He covers it up. No harm, no foul. But the Kings would add a second. It's Carter from Doughty and Velarde at 11 minutes and 50 seconds. Yes, Gabriel Velarde on the board tonight. The Kings then get a power play that the Coyotes would kill off. Then late in the period, I think there was 1 minute and 29 left. The Kings get another power play. So it's 2-0 LA after 1. And it was a bad period of hockey for Arizona in that first period. So in the second, clearly somebody lit a fire under them. Or they lit it under themselves. They're grown men playing hockey. They can do this. Garland scores from Keller and Schmaltz at 1 minute, continuing his hot streak. And that one appeared to go in off Iafallo's stick. So lucky break there. But 2-1. Fisher then with a fast break, saved by Quick. Schmaltz, he would shoot high, but they end up drawing a power play with the pressure they had. And the power play would end, but Kessel would score from Pitlick and Hunt after it had just ended at 5:51. Phil Kessel scored 4 goals in their first 4 games. This is the first goal he's had since that 4th game. So the idea is if he can get hot for Arizona, this is really, really important. Now, the rest of the notes for the second period, Well, there was so much going on in the St. Louis San Jose game. That's where all the note taking was going. You'll also notice I had 4 games on the first board, 3 on the second, 2 on the third. The reason being simple. If I have 3 boards going at the same time, I want to make sure I can get down to 2 or 1 board as quickly as possible, so I look at start times. That's why the boards are being done different this year than previous years. I'm actually using my noggin. Like, okay, I could just put 2 games. I don't care. I don't have to have 4 on every board. So, okay, not only that, but the 4th game is always more difficult to see than the first 3. So that's always the thing, too, that if I can make it so they're on the first 2 columns, then I can stand here and I'm not blocking out the game. If you yell at the board when I do that, I can't hear you. 3rd period, there was a near miss early by Keller. There were a few whistles as well early in the period. Very fast game at that stage. Krause had a chance that went high. Lawson Krause this year just isn't getting any breaks, but defensively, he has been very, very good. So the offensive numbers are nowhere near what I had expected and hoped for this year, but defensively, he's still playing very, very well. He's a big guy. Doughty then had a chance that went wide. Kopitar takes a penalty, so the Coyotes go to the power play. The Kings would kill it. There was some pressure as well after they killed it off by the Kings. Linesmen, it looked like they'd been replaced. So apparently linesmen have number 85. So if you see a linesman wearing number 85, that means it's a generic replacement jersey. But what apparently had happened was the linesman had his stuff not show up, or he wasn't able to find it or whatever, so they gave him the replacement linesman's stuff, so he was there. It was weird. It was a weird thing to get brought up in the 3rd period, too, because that means he'd been doing that the entire game, and they hadn't noticed until the 3rd period. Or maybe they just kept mentioning it. I don't know. It was weird. 6:08 left. The Kings get a power play. They don't score on it. Goligoski had a really nice chance with 1 minute and 45 seconds left. And then Krause absolutely destroys Bjornfot. Bjornfot, I tell you, he's a big kid too. But Krause just drilled him. And it was clean. There was nothing dirty about the hit. Just Lawson Krause out there doing Lawson Krause things. If the Arizona Coyotes ever decide they're going to move Krause and a team I cheer for doesn't go all in to try to get him, I'll be upset. Because I think the offense is going to be there for Krause at some point. Not this season, but even if it's not, with the physicality and the defense the guy plays, he's fantastic. So in overtime, Quick denies Kessel. Schmaltz then had a chance that went high. And then the Kings ragged the puck for about a minute. So both teams had their opportunities. Both teams did a pretty good job with the puck. Arizona does outshoot LA in that period because LA is busy ragging the puck to try to, get the multiple lines going. And they were keeping Kessel on the ice. Kessel was on the ice for a couple of minutes. To Phil's credit, after an extremely long shift in overtime, he was still the guy that chased down the puck and forced LA to send it all the way down the ice and was able to get off the ice. So we go to a shootout, and in the shootout, the game winner scored by Gabriel Vilardi. Vilardi with the winner. And so the LA Kings win this one in the shootout 3-2. They go to 6-6-3. Arizona drops to 7-6-3. And there are a lot of these teams that have right around the same record in the West. Could be very interesting to see which team emerges as number 4 in the West. Shots were 14-6 LA in the first, 9-6 LA in the second, 6-5 Arizona in the third, 3-1 Arizona in the overtime. Final shots 29-21 for LA. Power plays, both teams went 0 for 3 in this game. Quick saves 20 out of 22. Kemper saves 27 out of 29. All right, the 3 stars from that game were Gabriel Vilardi, Dustin Brown, and Jeff Carter. Really, in a shootout, they gave all 3 stars to the same team? You're not even going to give Kessel a 3rd star? All right, let's just go through. I'm just going to check and see who picked the 3 stars. 3 stars were picked by the Coyotes broadcast team. All right, well, there you go. Okay, they picked all 3 Kings. That's interesting. Because I would have given Kessel a star. Yeah. All right, well. I thought Kessel should have had a star. Phil, if you see this, I think you're a star. He's not going to see this. All right, last up. Minnesota and Anaheim. Minnesota, they're an up and down team. So they win, they lose, they win, they lose. So my wife's a fan of the Minnesota Wild, and as this game went on, I said, you realize that in the rematch, this means they're going to lose it, right? She just nodded and said, yeah, I know. So the Ducks were wearing their orange thirds, and Delorier's a healthy scratch. Now, what's interesting is he's also one of their highest scorers. And they scratched him so they could get Max Jones in the lineup. again, Delorier's scoring has dried up over the last, say, 10 games. But still, the Ducks just don't have offense. And tonight doesn't change that narrative. The shots were 1-0 in favor of Minnesota at 4 minutes. Yep. Hartman then scores at 7:27. He did that when there were no shots for Minnesota yet. I mentioned Hartman this morning. I said I thought that he was due for a goal, and there it is. And then Fiala scores from Zuccarello at 8:05. So less than a minute, it's 2-0 in favor of the Wild. And then they get a power play. So they don't score on the power play. And at 11 minutes, the shots are 7-0 in favor of Minnesota. So the Ducks have not even put a single shot on Kakkonen in the Minnesota net to this stage. The Ducks get a power play. It then became a 5-on-3 for 1 minute and 4 seconds. You have to get a shot. They did. They got a shot. One. And it wasn't during the 5-on-3. It was after that expired. It was before the 5-on-4 expired. That had to be rough because that was the only power play time the Ducks had tonight. And it was awful. Great penalty kill by Minnesota or awful power play by Anaheim. You guys can make up your mind on that. But yeah, second period, early on the Wild had a power play, but it was a strong penalty kill by the Ducks, and there were no shots by the Minnesota Wild. In fact, 6 minutes into the period, there were no shots by either team. 4 minutes into the first, we had 1 shot. 6 minutes into the second, we had no shots. This is the difference between a game in the North and a game in the West, right here. This by 6 minutes into the second period in a game in the North, there's 4 goals each. So anyways, the Wild get another power play. That time they managed 1 shot on that power play, and then it's Steele scoring from Heinen at 12 minutes. So the Ducks do get on the board. Things get kind of scrummy with 6:18 left. It leads to 4-on-4. There was a lot of that tonight, and we'll see if that continues. One thing that's been talked about is that power plays seem to be coming down, which happens every year. And as a result of the power plays coming down, scoring has come down as well. In fact, when they're looking at the actual numbers, scoring is down this year from last year. It's just that there's more power plays. There's been a lot more power plays, so that makes scoring look a lot better than what it really is. Third period, Getzlaf with a slash. It's a 4th power play for the Wild. Getzlaf did not agree that he slashed a player on that play. And then there's a shorthanded 2-on-1 for the Ducks, which misfired. The shots were 2-2, 5.5 minutes in, so this period was crazy. The Ducks had a chance at 6 minutes, which misses. Steele had a chance, and he can't bury it. And Brian Hayward was not happy with that one, just kind of like he needs to do better than that. And I can't disagree with him. Heinen then had a chance at the half that was saved. And then there's a near miss for Cam Fowler. It goes through Kakkonen, and it goes out the other side. So the goalie didn't technically stop it, but he managed to direct it so that it didn't go in the net behind him. So it's still technically a save. And then Comtois was set up, had a yawning cage. He was interfered with a little bit so that he couldn't make that easy shot into the net, but that's nightmare fuel right there, because it was a very close game, and that would have been the tying goal. The Wild pressure, another power play coming out of that, and then there was a shorthanded chance for Silverberg, but he doesn't score. And then it's Foligno from Parisi and Bonino at 16:15. It's still listed as a power play goal. The last time I checked the app, they're still listing it as a power play goal. But it was 2 minutes exactly after the power play had started. So unless there was something with the clock that maybe they adjusted by a second here or there, that shouldn't be a power play goal, but it was still listed as a power play goal. And yeah, this is right around where Brian Hayward mentioned, hey, and by the way, Hampus Lindholm isn't on the Ducks bench. Because sure, why not? Lindholm's not on the bench, sure. If you're a Ducks fan, you're like, that sounds about right. Goalie pull with 1.5 minutes left. They also call a timeout with 54.4 seconds left. The Ducks are unable to generate the necessary opportunities, and Kakkonen was able to turn them aside when they did. Final score 3-1 for the Wild, who are now 7-6, and for the Ducks they fall to 6-8-3. Shots in this one were 9-3 Minnesota in the first, 7-6 Minnesota in the second, 11-8 Minnesota in the third. Final shots 27-17 in this game in favor of Minnesota. Power plays, Minnesota 1 for 5, Anaheim 0 for 2. And yeah, it was not the most exciting game of the night, but Minnesota wins. And this is kind of the kind of hockey that Minnesota needs to play to get the victories, and as long as you win, that's what really matters, right? Kakkonen saves 16 out of 17. Gibson saves 24 out of 27. Your 3 stars in this one were Hartman, Eriksson, and Steele. So there you go. You guys are all up to date on what happened in the 9 games from tonight. We have 4 games tomorrow, so I'll be doing the preview for those in the morning. But let me know your thoughts regarding these 9 games tonight. And like I said, I'll be doing an Austin Matthews video at some point soon, because with the goal scoring he's putting up, it's pretty impressive, and I should have a talk about it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video very, very close to 180,000 subscribers. Let's get over that hill. Thanks for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.